Playbook for Performance, the official podcast of Shauna Corden, the Joan of Arc for corporate healing and performance. Join the quest to make work fun again by preparing leadership for engaging workplaces. And now, your host.
Hello and welcome everybody to another edition of the Playbook for Performance podcast. I'm your host, Shauna Corden. And today we are continuing our 20-week challenge in building your resilience for 2023. Today specifically, we're going to be talking about personal standards. Now, if you're just joining us for the first time, do know that on our website you can, or in the show notes, you can download the personal theme sheet that will help you set some goals around this 20-week challenge. You can do them in any order whatsoever. And it may be that based on what you hear as little triggers are the lessons that you're going to pursue. But just recognize that each of these lessons are really designed to help you build your resilience so that when stressful events happen, you bend and don't break. So let's get started on personal standards. Now, last week we talked about boundaries. Boundaries are like fences, and they set the stage for what people may say or do around you. Personal standards are what happen inside the fence. How well is your yard groomed? Are you allowing your children to haphazardly leave their bicycles, or do they need to be parked in a bike rack? That kind of thing. So think of that analogy when it comes to standards. So I suggest this lesson when I hear my clients say things like they're ready to upgrade, the old feels stale to them, they feel like they're ready to level up. Sometimes that's out of observation from someone else. So not jealousy, not envy, but like, whoa, I want to do that. Or they're really ready to boost their self-esteem. Frankly, that's why I started up on the 75 Hard Challenge. I am at day 40 of this, and I was ready to boost. And so that's why I took on this challenge. But this is where the standards come from. So a little bit about standards. You know, this is really how you have chosen to identify. I identify as a non-smoker. I identify as an athlete. I identify as blank, 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 blank. And all the behaviors that go along with that. So part of this 75 hard is like 2 workouts a day. One of them's outside, gallon of water, etc. So very quickly after you're doing this for a while, you think, I regularly exercise outside. I'm an outdoor exerciser. I am a water drinker. I'm blank, blank, blank. And when we are successful in creating habits, it's because we have an identity change. And that's how I really want you to think of this, is think about first class in an airplane versus the back of the plane in coach. Things are different. White linen napkins, complimentary beverages, your own television and headset. Depending on if it's international, you may have a bed that goes with it, slippers, things like that go with it. Do you want to live that kind of life, or do you want to be in coach? Okay, and there's no, I'm not insulting that people spend their money where they want to spend money, but think about those behaviors that you want and recognize that higher standards mean a better life. That might be the quality of the food you eat, the company you keep, all those things. And we're going to go through that in a bit of detail here. It's good to revisit your needs. It's good to revisit your standards every so often to go, does this still work for me? Am I still satisfied with this? Am I ready for something more? Okay. And I would say generally when I was employed in a corporation, I was ready for a new job about every 18 months. I was ready to have a new challenge, to have, new skills, things like that. So that might be another example that works for you. And it's important that these standards that you choose, and these are all a choice, feel right now, not in 6 months, etc. Now, I would say when you take a new job or you're visiting kind of a new experience, you will always be a little bit uncomfortable because you're unfamiliar with it. And probably the best thing you can do to make yourself more comfortable to a new situation or an upgraded situation is to educate yourself. This could be reading ahead. This could be mentoring with someone. It could be asking questions. So if this is your first time sitting in first class, you may want to ask the flight attendant, what should I expect? How is this going to go? You might want to read about it in a travel blog, things like that. So think about this and what feels right now. So in the beginning, that new experience, you may not feel totally comfortable yet, but then you're like, oh yeah, this is good. So the reason that we want to have higher standards and choose them specifically is the personal accountability that comes with it. The more that you have created identity for yourself, life becomes more automatic. If somebody were to offer me a cigarette, I wouldn't have to think about it. I'd go, I don't smoke. So it's a very automatic thing like that. If someone were trying to seat you and coach, you'd go, I sit in first class. Or one of my big concerns is I don't like single-use plastic water bottles. I just think there's so many better alternatives. Now, if I go to a sporting event at my local university, I can bring an unopened water bottle in. I can also bring an empty cup in, and I can fill my cup at the mini water stations that they have around. But I will not go to an event like that and buy 3 or 4, bottles of water, not to mention how expensive they are, but it's so wasteful to me. And I know this is just my opinion. I'm in the Pacific Northwest. We take our ecology pretty seriously here. So the environment is front and center, probably more than other parts of the world. But we take it pretty seriously here. And so I regularly bring my own water bottle wherever I go if it's permitted, security-wise. I don't like to buy single-use water bottles. I just feel strongly about it. So it's very automatic for me. If somebody's going to offer, I'm like, nope, I got my own cup. Same thing with in our local area. People bring their own bags to put their groceries in rather than single-use bags. Same thing there. Those are some great examples. When it comes to sleep, I've got some personal rules for myself, and my family knows not to infringe on those. I'm going to get my 8 hours of sleep. Continue the party without me, I'm going to bed. So people are attracted to this. People like it when they know what to expect from you and that you love the way that you live your life. And so this is how we really want to think about these standards. Now, how do you choose the standards that you're going to go after? Well, what do you want more of in your life? What's going really well for you right now that you want more of? And what do you want less of? It doesn't take much to look around and go, this is not working for me. This is really good and I want more of this. So another way you can look at it is look at those you admire. Now, again, we're not talking about jealousy, envy. Please don't do this from Instagram or, some Real Housewives thing or whatever examples might be. What's realistic for you in terms of you truly enjoy it? If you're a sports car guy, great. And if you want to go after that, wonderful. But have it be sincere as opposed to some sort of peer pressure thing. We really want constructive identities and behaviors that build and drive good habits. So, I have this I know it's a silly little mantra, but every morning when I make my bed, and I make it every day, I say to myself, I am the kind of person who gets stuff done. And it's just part of my identity in making that bed. And there's other things. When I'm doing my first workout, when I'm doing my second workout, when I finish my water, when I read my books, things like that. Those are things that I'm saying to myself. And you want them to be things that feel good. We really want to avoid anything that's a should. So in coaching, we like to make the joke, don't should on yourself. But it's this idea of shoulds are what other people want and try to apply to you. You know, your parents wanted you to major in accounting, you wanted to be a poet, or vice versa. So we want to avoid anything like that as personal standards. If it doesn't sit with you, number one, you won't follow through with it. You won't comply. Well, actually, you'll probably comply out of pressure temporarily, but it won't stick. You really want to be pulled towards these things, not pushed towards them. We also don't want to raise things too quickly, because that's when we get into this identity crisis or inferiority complex or imposter syndrome, and we go, oh, this is not for me. So if you've never been on a plane before and all of a sudden you're surrounded by, you know, the luxury that's in first class, you might just go, this is not for me. You might get off the plane altogether as opposed to sticking with it. So get comfortable, get your feet wet. If this is something you enjoy, upgrade from there. I would never recommend that somebody go from couch potato to marathon runner. We really want to be like, maybe we'll start walking. Then we'll integrate walk, run. Then we'll get into our first 5K, half marathon, full marathon, okay? We want to grow with this process. So a couple other things that you might want to consider. These are just examples of kind of super high standards. Is you're positive in everything. So we're talking Kirk Cousins, like no matter how far we're down in the game, you know, we got a way to win. That kind of positive mentality. Being polite to everybody, right? Servers, janitors, you name it. The strata of people does not determine the respect that they get. Some high standards would include things like always telling the truth. You might be very gentle in how you tell the truth, but you tell the truth regardless of what's going on. You put people ahead of results. And it could be that you do all your business, no matter what's going on, honestly. You know, sometimes people like to fudge things, but you're like, no, I don't want to have to remember any lies I told. Basic things are like being helpful, being polite, saying please and thank you, being kind to the dog, things like that. So those are some basic things. But to start off with, one of the things you might want to do is make a list of 10 things that you admire, you'd like to try. It would be a great thing for you to do. And of course, anything that has to do with your environment, your relationships, your health, or money are all really good places to start. Like, I don't pay late fees because I pay everything on time. You know, I pay off my credit cards every month. I, travel first class. I always have at least a half tank of gas. I always ... So they probably sound a little bit like affirmations because they're a little bit like that. They are identity based. So I would love to hear some of the standards that you're setting for yourself. It would be really fun to hear those things. I've heard some great ones over the years that I really like. And I don't want to pollute you at all with those, but it would be really fun to hear from you. If this is your first time listening, please let us know if you have any questions. Invite your friends to join because you do want to grow together. A rising tide does lift all boats. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you have questions and you'd like to hear a direct response from me about your standards, your boundaries, or how you can build resilience for yourself or your team, do send us a message at podcast@shawnacorden.com. Take good care, everybody.
Thank you for listening to Playbook for Performance. To learn more about Shauna Corden, her consulting programs and tools, please visit her website at shawnacorden.com and follow us on social media at Shauna Corden.